In September of 2025, the band SHISHAMO announced that they would be disbanding in this year, 2026. And this is a band that I have loved for a very long time, for about 10 years now, actually. As you can probably imagine, I'm pretty heartbroken about it because this is a band that I feel like I've listened to for pretty much my whole adult life at this point. So I have, really listened to their lyrics and their feelings and their emotions for so long now. And it really bums me out that they are calling it quits, but at the same time, I'm actually really happy for them. Now, hopefully I don't need to explain who SHISHAMO are to you, but in case I do, here is just a very quick rundown. The band was formed in 2010 in the town of Kawasaki in the prefecture of Kanagawa. And this is, of course, in Japan. That should be obvious, but I should probably say it just to be safe. And so the three original members of the band were Miyazaki Asako on vocals and guitar, Matsumoto Aya on bass, and finally Yoshikawa Misaki on the drums. But unfortunately, the bassist would leave in 2014 and then be replaced by the new bassist who is named Matsuoka Aya. Due to the timing of it all, the new Aya would officially be a part of the band starting with SHISHAMO 2 forward. That's also something I should probably touch on a little bit too. Pretty much every mainline SHISHAMO album is just named SHISHAMO, SHISHAMO 2, SHISHAMO 3. So it's actually very easy to keep track of their album titles, thank God, because they have a ton. And that's something I want to touch on just a little bit. So now, right this second, here in 2026, they have 9 full albums, 2 EPs, and 6 compilation albums. They are all really fantastic, and they all really sit in that same kind of sound. So I feel like if you like one in, let's say, like 2017, you'll probably like another from like 2022. Though actually one thing to note, which is really weird, though it's something I have observed for years and years now, is that SHISHAMO 4 and 5 are not on Apple Music. They are actually on Spotify, just not Apple Music. Though some of the songs from 4 and 5 have actually made it onto the compilations, which are on Apple Music. So, they have been around a long time. They have been a band for 16 years. And because of that, they have inspired a ton of other bands. In my opinion, SHISHAMO have really cultivated and also pioneered that real light music, girl rock sound that is really, really what you hear in a lot of bands in the modern era, if you will. With their popularity and being around for forever and having so much music out, I think it's kind of hard to have never really run across them. Sure, maybe you haven't, but honestly, maybe you have. Now, why am I making this video? Well, for one, I'm sad, and I think if you like the band and you're not aware yet, you should probably know, right, that they are not going to be together for too much longer. So obviously the band leaves behind a very large and long legacy that I think is really going to persist for a very long time, just because they do have so much of this music out and it has been listened to by so many people across the nation of Japan, and obviously me here in America too. And so of course when I heard the news, I was really, I don't want to say devastated, but I was sad for sure. More so than that though, I will say that I also felt very relieved and also happy in general for them. They have been making music for so long. They have probably written every song they can. I do think that they really deserve some time to try something new, to find themselves now that they are, they gotta be like mid to late 30s, right? Surely. But to be honest with you, a lot of the ideas in this video came from the fact that they had recently released their final compilation album on February 11th, and it is just called SHISHAMO Deshita, which means we were SHISHAMO, or this was SHISHAMO. And man, just from the title, I get like a little bit teary-eyed. It's like, yeah, they really were, right? This is probably the most massive compilation album to date for maybe a lot of music just in general. It is 3 discs long. Each of the 3 members got to choose their favorite songs from their whole discography, and they made it on that compilation disc. And there are some great choices all around, though I do wish they had, had a little bit more for my favorite one, which I will be talking about a little bit later. But so anyway, the first disc is for Asako, the second disc is for Aya, and then the third disc is for Misaki. I really like how each of the songs on there are chosen, obviously, because they are the members' favorites, but I think it also really shows what songs they themselves feel especially proud about. And man, I just think that that is such a great way to structure something like this, where it is ostensibly the very last thing they are ever going to put out officially on a label, whatever. And also, to be honest with you too, I think I got maybe through the first minute and a half of the very first song on the first disc, and I was like tearing up a little bit, because you can't just listen to, someone's favorite song that they've ever made on an album called I was part of this band and like not be like, oh, damn, that sucks. Like I said a second ago, yes, I was sad, but I'm also happy. And that's because so few bands get to go out like this. For the most part, they are wholly intact. Yes, they are kind of like totally intact because the same three members have been playing together for like, what, 12 years now? So that's a win in my book. On top of that too, they have that huge discography. They have so much to be proud of and so much that they have achieved. And that is, again, great for any band pretty much ever, I feel like. And then actually something that I haven't mentioned yet is that they have 2 final stadium shows that are going to be taking place on June, I believe, 13th and June 14th, where I think the first is titled the Thank You Show, and then the second is titled the Goodbye Show. And that's cute. That's lovely, right? So, I mean, like, I am hoping that they are going to play a little bit more from that third album, but, you know, that's obviously not up to me. But I think if they really want to listen to their fans that are, you know, late 20s males in America, then they should play a lot of SHISHAMO 3. And you know what? Speaking of SHISHAMO 3, let's talk about SHISHAMO 3, which I have right here. This is probably one of my favorite Japanese albums of all time, and that's probably because I came across it just so incredibly randomly so long ago, and it's even to the point where I don't even know how I found out about it. Maybe it was just on YouTube and I listened to it there because it was not on Spotify 10 years ago. I just loved everything about it. I loved every chord, I loved every lyric, I loved all of the amazing vocal inflections that Asako is just capable of. It's really, really incredible what she does with her voice on like every single song. But yeah, this is my favorite album of theirs. I think it always will be because I have that history with it myself. It is the first I listened to, obviously, and it's also the first album I ever pirated because it was not available at all in the slightest in America. So I was like, I'm gonna find some kind of torrent, and I did. And to this day, the torrent version is the one that's on my iPod that I love to like hype up and talk about because I use it all the time. The quality of the torrent is bad, I will admit that, but at the very least, I did eventually actually purchase the album, so I did make up for it. This is proof, I got it right here. There is a lot that I love about SHISHAMO 3. I think for me though, the most impressive parts of it are probably the lyricism and the instrumentals, because Asako writes like she is consistently on the, I would say, precipice of change, that being her childhood and also her adulthood. But it's not only that, there is also this dichotomy of anonymity and celebrity. And I think that is really an interesting concept to explore when you don't know what it's going to be like in your future. It's for that reason that I think fell in love with this album, because you don't know what the future is like based off your past experiences because, well, there might be new ones that you just are not ready for in the slightest. It's because of that I have always really had this fondness for that lyric that I had at the beginning of this video, because it is just so encompassing of fears and also hopes and just general wonder about the future. There are a lot of songs that are about like, where will love take me? When will I find love? And a lot of songs are just so much about love, and there aren't so many that are about what will my future look like when I'm not me as I am now. And I have just thought that that is always such an interesting concept to explore, and I really feel like that is what is explored here on SHISHAMO 3. That too is something that I really had on my mind when I first listened to this album too. I think at that time I was probably 18 or 19 years old, right out of high school, and every morning I would wake up at 4 a.m. so I could go to work at 5 a.m. And before our store opened at, I want to say like 8 or 9, I would just be listening to a ton of music while I worked. And of course, as you can probably imagine, that is where I really listened to a ton of Japanese music, because I just had all of this free time in the morning, and you know, there were just so many new bands and sounds to explore, and of course, one of those was SHISHAMO. Now again, this was in 2016, and so this was way before I had started learning Japanese or going to Japan for the first time even, so I didn't know what the lyrics were about, but I think because of the amazing vocal delivery from Asako, you could just really tell how much the lyrics meant to her as she sang them. I was like, you know what? I should look into these lyrics. And then I did. And I was like, wow, this is just how I feel about so much in my life right now. Because of that, I think this album is also really interesting for me to revisit too, because every time I do, I know more Japanese, so it's a lot easier for me to understand what is being said. Even though I more or less know what every song is about, it's just so much easier for me to now natively understand all of what Asako is really trying to impart and explain about how she sees the world. And that is just so rewarding for me. There is so much about this album that is permanently ingrained in my mind. And again, that is largely due because of the vocals and the guitar from Asako, but I really do love every single member here. Honest to God, I think everyone sounds perfect here. They all sound so snappy and with it and just on the mark in every single way all the time. Because of that, I would say that they really found their foundational sound here. You would really hear a lot of what's happening on SHISHAMO 3 for the rest of their, discography. But unfortunately, that is something of a kind of dual-edged sword because their sound got a little bit bland just because, it is all kind of sounding a little bit samey from project to project, song to song. I think that just really goes to show how great their formula is too. It is consistently great music. Sure, maybe I checked out a little bit around SHISHAMO 6 and 7, but can you blame me, okay? But, I still love everything on every single one of their records. And I think that's because SHISHAMO 3 just really set the bar so high, and they just found the perfect equation for their formula that really just made them skyrocket in popularity. I think at the point in 2016 when this album came out, sure, they were fairly popular, but after this, they just exploded because on their follow-up album, SHISHAMO 4, they had one song on there named Ashitamo. And that thing blew up like crazy. I think today that might still be their most popular song. I'd have to check. I probably will in the edit here in some way. That song's great. And on top of that, it's like a ska song. And I'm rocking with that ska music, I ain't gonna lie. But again, because I do think that SHISHAMO 3 is so foundational, I feel like all of the rest is a little bit derivative of this masterpiece. But if you're going to keep doing your same sound that continues to make you more popular and popular, you're probably doing something right. Objectively, you are. But just to be safe, I did want to listen to their final, actual album one last time just to really compare it to SHISHAMO 3. And so now I want to talk about SHISHAMO 8, which came out in 2024. What can I say other than that I love this album? I somehow missed out on it on 2024, or else I would have made a video on it by now, obviously. But I do still really, really appreciate it because it takes so many risks. I would also say that that's especially compared to their early and also mid time of their career. And generally that's because there are just many more in-your-face backing vocals that are really acting as instruments all on their own, which is almost like having a fourth member, though it's just the other two members that are just a lot more present. And that is something that I wish showed up a little bit more in their discography. Sure, it happens a lot, but that's only because they have 9 albums. I really do feel like I would love more maybe lead vocals from the other members every so often, but I mean, Asako still rocks it. I mean, I've been hyping her up this whole time, so obviously I like her and I don't want her to leave. But I would like a little bit more variety, but luckily that is actually what you get a little bit of here on this final album. I do really love talking about their music, and it's unfortunate that, now in the video, I have to go back to being sad about them not making music anymore. I'm certain that some point in the future, they will probably play one more show or one more tour in 10, 15, 20 years. And I'm gonna try to be there for it because I really want to see them live at some point. I still haven't, which honestly is crazy to me too. It just seems like a lot of the time I'm barely missing them. So all that to say, I think if you haven't listened to SHISHAMO, you really should. They are such an amazing band. And now you can definitively listen to all of their music in one go if you so choose. But they do have 8 self-titled albums, so if you want to do one a day, you can knock it out in 1 week and maybe even treat yourself to 2 albums on one of those days if you so choose. In my very biased opinion, I think you should start with SHISHAMO 3 just so that you can hear that very foundational sound right from the get-go, because that's a real guiding star of an album, in my opinion, for this discography, and it's so good, I stake my life on it. If you don't like it, well, don't kill me. And then if you do like SHISHAMO 3, I would highly recommend checking out 4 because it is very similar to it. I think it came out a year-ish later, so it's really in that same sort of headspace even. It's just a little bit more fun, happy, and not as much introspective. as 3 is, though it still very much is. I could go on forever, but I don't think you want me to. And I don't think I want me to either. I think instead of, spending your time listening to a guy next to a fake tree in a corner talk about this music, you should just go listen to it for yourself. I really, really strongly plead that you do. I'm really not even asking, I am pleading, because I think you'll like it once you do. But specifically SHISHAMO 3, it's that good. Let me open up the floor to you though. Do you have any favorite SHISHAMO songs or albums? There are a lot to choose from, obviously. And if there are, let me know, because, I would love to hear what other people like about SHISHAMO, because I've never talked to any other SHISHAMO fans, so I don't know what other people think about their music. It's just me and the music that I like. So I haven't really had a chance to yap about it, but man, would I love to. So in case that is you, let me know in the comments, because I would love to read what you think, because I've never actually done that, believe it or not. So yeah, please and thank you. And also on that topic, thank you so much for watching and hopefully checking out this album too. If you'd like to subscribe, I've got a lot more videos about Japanese music. That's all I talk about. So if you like that topic, then you will like my topics in my other videos. And the best way to watch those is by subscribing or just clicking anywhere, I suppose. But yeah, thank you again. I will see you soon and have a good rest of your day. Bye.